Alright folks, today we're doing a oil and filter change on a 1999 Toyota Camry. This specific car takes 5W30. We chose the high mileage, which is a synthetic blend, simply because this car's got about 155,000 miles on it. This is recommended for any car 75,000 miles or above. We did do a price match, went into AutoZone. It was a little bit more expensive than Advanced Auto Parts. We went in there, they price matched, and we were able to get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life and a Bosch filter for 25 bucks out the door,
which is a real good deal.
And let's see, when we go and change the filter, this car is pretty accessible. Filter's right there. We won't even need a filter wrench. We'll just be able to reach in there, and it's a little hot. We had the car running just to kind of loosen up the oil, get the viscosity going. And once we're down underneath the car, it's going to be a 14mm bolt. And drain, refill, change the filter, and we'll be on our way. And this specific car, according to the owner's manual, takes 3.8 quarts of oil. That includes with the filter on as well. Alright guys, we got the car jacked up now. First thing we did was we went in the car and we set the emergency brake. That way those back wheels will be locked out. And down here, we're supporting the car with 2 jacks. As a reminder, you never want to be working underneath the car supported solely on 1 jack. It's the jack stands that we have are a little too tall for what we want to do here, so we're just supporting them with 1 jack on each side. Notice here we have the jack supporting the car on the pinch weld. You have 4 of those on each side, and that's where the car sits when it's on the assembly line in the factory. So if we go over there, it's going to be the same thing right on this pinch weld. That's where you want to support it. If we were to support it on jack stands, we would jack the car up in the front on something solid and put the jack stands right on these pinch welds.
And I'll show right back here where the pinch weld is. You can just see the little kind of divots right there.
Guys, we got everything set up. There's our filter. We're going to remove that, but before we do that, we're going to come down here. We got an oil pan set up, and this is our oil drain plug. Now I used a 14mm socket to get this loose, and now I'm just going to undo this by hand. Now be careful, this car has been off for about 10 minutes, but the oil's still pretty hot, so you want to just kind of position your hand as this oil comes out to kind of get it going. Alright, so we're just going to let that set and start draining out. And if you want to come up top with me, here's where we're going to fill up the oil, but just to give it a little airflow and let that oil come out a little bit quicker and a little bit smoother, we'll go ahead and just kind of take this off and just kind of rest it right there. Alright, now that we got the filter loose, it was a little over tightened, but we finally got it loose. Because this oil filter is right side up, I'm going to have to position this towel right underneath here and expect a little bit of oil to kind of drip out. So as I get it loose, I'm just going to kind of quickly remove it to prevent any spillage. And you can see, not too bad. Most of the oil is already drained out of the filter due to gravity. And once we get the old filter out, we're just going to go ahead and set it in the new filter box, set that aside, and we can recycle it when the time's right. Guys, you notice that I got under there and I really did a thorough cleaning of where the oil filter screws on. When you take your car into the shop, they might wipe it down briefly, but they're not really going to get in there. That's one of the other benefits of doing it yourself. Most of the oil's drained out, but you can still see a steady drip, about 1 drip every 2 seconds. What I like to do is I like to just let it keep draining out. In the meantime, I like to just clean all around the oil pan. I do the same thing when I take the filter off. This gives you a good opportunity to discover any leaks that you might not know about. Before you install your new filter, what you want to do is you want to take a thin coat of the new oil that you just purchased, and this is just the seal from the cap, and I'm going to just rub my finger around there and get a nice amount of oil, and I'm just going to rub it around this seal, this rubber seal. That's going to help seal that new oil filter to that part of the engine. Okay guys, we got our new filter on. Now as we tighten this down, you want to just turn it slowly, right about until it touches and becomes flush with the engine. Once you get it flush, here's what you're going to want to do. Only turn it a quarter turn, just like that. What that's going to do is it's going to allow, as the filter and the engine heat up, the heat of the engine will actually torque it down even tighter than that. If you tighten it all the way until it won't turn anymore, and then you start your car up and drive it a few thousand miles, it's going to be very difficult to get that filter off at your next oil change. As with the oil completely drained out, it's time now to install our drain plug. This is a good time to check the gasket that helps seal the oil pan with the plug. This one still appears pretty good, so we're just going to leave it on there. But every time you should take this off, clean it off, and make sure that it's nice and clean before you reinstall it. In the event that you do need to replace the bolt, most bolts will come with an extra gasket for around $2 to $3. Okay, I went ahead and hand tightened the drain bolt back on there. Normally what you would want to do if you had the service manual, you could get the torque specification, but for this specific car we don't have that. So what I'm going to do is just tighten the bolt till it's about flush, and right about there until it's about a quarter to a half turn, and get it on there nice and snug. Keep in mind you do not want to over tighten this. The same thing, same idea with the oil filter. If you over tighten it, it will become impossible to get off due to the fact that when the engine heats up and the oil heats up, it's going to torque it down even more. Alright, so when we refill the oil, we're going to go ahead and remove this cap here, place the funnel in there, and start pouring our oil. Another quick note is if you're ever in doubt of what your car takes as far as the type of oil, go ahead and just read the cap. As you can see, it says 5W30 right on there. Now that we got the engine refilled with the new oil, we're going to go ahead and start the engine, let it run for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, and really let that oil circulate throughout the engine, especially through the oil filter. And while you do this, go ahead and check all the areas that you worked on for any sort of leak. Oil filter looks good, not leaking. And as we check the drain bolt, it's on there nice and snug, no leaks. Guys, final step here, we got the car off the jacks on level ground. It's been off approximately for 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and bring the dipstick out, wipe it clean, stick it back in there, pull it out one last time, and you can see right there, just a slightly overfilled, but not anything to worry about. Alright guys, we got the car jacked up now. Quick reminder, I'll start that one. Guys, final step here, we got the car level off. Dude, you gotta redo it. Dude, oh God!
What is it?
Shine your flashlight.
What is it?
It's like a woodchuck or something.
You're kidding.
No.
Here, there he is! Fuck off!